Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bill Padnes. I am the Director of Workforce Development for the Non-Ferrous Founders Society. I would like to welcome everyone to our NIFS Next Gen webinar, and this is our fourth in our series on aligning sales, marketing, and operations for success. I want to let everyone know that in the beginning or during this, we'll have the presentation. There is ability for you to put in, if you have questions and you have questions in there, if you look in the box, you can be able to indicate those questions and we'll try and either answer them during the presentation or immediately afterwards. If you want to ask a live question, we will do that at the end as well. So I will be monitoring that. If you have any questions, you can also put something in the chat box as well. So again, behalf of the NIST Next Gen Committee, we're so glad that you're going to be a part of our fourth webinar of our 2025-26 series. Again, the session is on the Power Trio, aligning sales, marketing, operation for success, and will be led by Francois Gao, owner, president, and CEO of Growth Hive. And its Growth Hive is a marketing firm based out of Pittsburgh. Francois brings a deep expertise in strategy, marketing, and sales and operations, and has helped manufacturers and industrial distributors around the world accelerate growth through integrated marketing and digital transformation. He draws on his previous leadership experience at Kennametal and Honeywell Aerospace, both in the US and in France. So you'll get definitely with the accent, giving him a global perspective on how collaboration drives performance. In addition, his advisory work with Velocity Hub has provided him with a unique insights into how companies can embrace product innovation and growth strategies to stay competitive. On a personal note, I've had the opportunity to learn directly from Francois for, I think, 10 to 15 years from now, both through his engaging presentations at industry events and from my time working alongside him at Growth Hive. His ability to connect strategy to real-world application is something I've always valued and I truly have admired. So I believe you're about to have a masterclass in sales, marketing, and operations. So please join, help me in welcoming Francois.
Well, good afternoon, technically. It's 12:05 here in Pittsburgh. So thank you, Bill, for this wonderful introduction and to the National Non-Ferrous Founders Society for the opportunity to be here today. Um, like Bill said, 15 years at Honeywell Aerospace, almost 15 years at Kennametal, and then I decided to leave corporate and just create my own little world. And we've been doing this for about 7 years. Was a small team here in Pittsburgh, and this is very, very exciting to be here today to talk about one of my real passion. So my agenda today, probably about 20 minutes of presentation time. I don't think we need to talk too much more about that. Start with why. This is something that's really dear to my heart. Before we get even in talking about collaboration between marketing and sales, why? So we're going to ask a few questions of ourselves. I started this journey following that person for probably more than 20 years now. And it's been central to everything I do, everywhere I go. Spend a few minutes on kind of sharing some of the best practices I see across multiple industry. I'm going to try to be topical to the foundry businesses you guys are all partners with. If there are specific questions toward the end, I'll take them. I think I worked in my tenures at Kennametal and before that at Honeywell Aerospace Engines Division with probably many of you in my 30 years. So I have a basic understanding of foundries. I'm not sure I'm the experts you guys are. So please beg forgiveness. I'm going to try to be very generic And then if we need to dive in into specifics on foundries, let me know. And then the last part would be around some of my experiences of being able to or not to break those silos between sales and marketing. And for that matter, I've added one third world word in this, hence the accent, Bill. Thank you for reminding me this third word, which is management, aka operations. Because you'll find out through my presentation, that's actually quite a triangle. You gotta have sales and marketing talking the same language, same KPIs, the same objectives. Everybody's singing the same tune. If we don't, I'm going to pitch a new sale. I can't deliver. Operations not ready. My marketing is talking about something completely different. My sales are lost. I'm just hinkling right now that best marketing or best sales or best operations for that matter, that doesn't work. It's like knowing how to play a really good instrument and being in your home and playing it as soon as you want to jam with the orchestra. It just doesn't sound right. That's the message I'm trying to get to you. So if you have a moment, I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get into the tech nightmare. People don't buy what you do, but why you do it. So let's think about that for a second. Okay. If you have a moment, there is Start With Why on Google. It's a TED Talk. Watch it. It's about 2 minutes. If you have a bit of money, buy the book. And if you already kind of know about it, well, go do an email on your phone right now. But the idea is people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Everybody drives a car. And I'm going to ask you a simple question. You can chat in the webinar, you can get your Q&A, and I'll watch them at the same time, Bill. So let's make it interactive. Why did you buy your car? What makes what makes you take those decisions about brands or about decisions or about a vote or about whatever? There's always a why. And if you guys didn't know that, you will probably know it quickly. I'm a big fan of Apple. I know it's going to turn off a lot of people here. Um, I started when I was young. I had an Apple IIe as my first computer, as gifted to me by my uncle. I started programming on this thing, having some fun. And when I started working at Honeywell, they gave me a 8286 thingy with a DOS something in it, and I was lost. I was lost for a lot of years until like they finally put back Intel chips into it. Why do I buy Apple? A, I do believe in something they do, which is, thinking differently, different thinking, whichever way you want to. Their products in the beginning, think about their journey, has always been okay, breaking the ceiling, breaking the norm. So people don't buy what you do. They don't buy casting. They don't buy they buy why you do it. Why do you come in the morning and be excited about it? What's the why? I really encourage you guys to think through it when you go to your next meeting. And I'm going to jump into the next area. I've been through MBAs, like many of you probably. Also, I mean, I'm a converted engineer. Um, so they teach you, you have a company strategy, you have products and services that you keep innovating with, and you get marketing a bit of a sprinkle, and there it is, you got sales, right? That's the theory. Well, kind of, but that doesn't really work because it's a top-down strategy. You've forgotten one really important element in that equation is who do you want to target? So I came up on that years ago. I was working with Kennametal, and I worked with a company called Monitor at the time that became Deloitte, and they wrote a book called Playing to Win. Again, that's another tip, playing to win. And the argument here is pretty simple. Are you here to play or are you here to win? Whoops, that's an interesting question. Yeah, I can play. I have 0.002% market share in my city here in Pittsburgh, but I want to win. I want to get to 15% market share. Okay, what is your winning aspiration? And it's not make more money. That's a result. And that's not having 22% share in the casting on Non-Ferrous for Airbus impellers. Well, that doesn't exist, but pretend it does. Okay. So what's your winning aspiration? It's like, I want to be the best at this. What's your vision? What's your mission? What's your drive? What's your why? Then decide where you're going to play. Good question. All right. Let's say I go after Airbus, preferably non-flyable. I may be flyable. Okay. Then I'm gonna go maybe on Airbus and casting is non-ferrous. Whoa, that's quite a bit, but that's on the old gen aircraft for the most part. Okay. So where will I play? Well, who's making parts for Airbus? Ooh, it's about 260, my memory. And how will we win? What's different? What's our why? What's our unique value proposition? Do you know that? Yeah, we got people. Sure, they do too. Yeah, we got machines. Yeah, they do too. Yeah, we got some IP. Yeah, they do too. Then what? How would you win? What are the capabilities you must have? Obviously, in their world, you need to have, well, casting equipment, foundry equipment. That's pretty expensive usually. Uh, I'm not too sure about your personal case, but and then once you got the capital, you need to have people to know how to operate it. All right. And what management system do you need to have to win all that? So as you go down the steps, you can see I'm going back up when I do this work for clients because I dream at the beginning, and then as I got more realistic as I go down, my dream is kind of like a lead balloon. So let's redo it again, redo it again, redo it again. When we're done with that, we're getting down to my 10 questions. I test strategies and I encourage everybody. I think we're going to get a copy of this to everybody that's attending, right? So you don't need to take copies lessons or screenshot. But I'm going to hit on a couple here. Start with the bottom. Do you have a budget for your strategy? Whoops. I want to climb this hill. I want to go after, was it not a foundry per se, it was more like a mill. And they wanted to go after a very specific market in aluminum, obviously. And I says, well, how's he going to do this? Well, they're going to come. Well, that was 1960s. Okay. Build it, it'll come. Gone. So you need to have a new sales team. You need to train them. You need to have marketing that sing the same song. And you need to have the equipment available and the operations knowing how to run it. You need to have your supply chain. Do I need to continue? So what's your budget? How do you make sure your strategy has legs and is ready to rock and roll? So you can ask questions as I go, by the way, on the chatty or the Q&A in your Zoom. Okay. Now I'm gonna get to the second part of the thing. Now that I've talked a little bit about the why, we need to align. The second part is what are the best practices? Don't cringe, please. Marketing is not free. Marketing is very important. That's how you generate leads. That's typical. The job of marketing is to generate leads. That's it. You keep it as simple as that. In North America, in the industrial space, average is 0.96%, 0.96% of all SIC manufacturing companies through the survey we did when I was doing this a few years ago. 0.96%, that's what we spend on marketing. If you're below that, let's say 0.5%, you're behind. If you're above 3%, probably not hitting it because after that, there's a good chances it's not that effective, at least from our findings. So the sweet spot's about 1 to 2%. Um, Define marketing. You got people, maybe, or agencies. You got ads, you got to pay for that. You got tools, like if you guys use MailChimp and Constant Contact and Market Tool, HubSpot, dozens of those tools, they're not free. So as you add up the cost, make sure you got enough money. So I'm giving you national numbers here. I don't know what it is for the foundries. I haven't been able to find that out. But I guess it's about in the same as pretty much everybody else in that market. So what I found out too is your leads are coming from three basic buckets, and you need to have marketing associated with every one of them. Inbound is a sort of a technique by where you educate people about how to cast this and how to cast this and how to get rid of all this impurities or not, depending on what you're trying to make. And how do you get the porosity out and the density and the whatnot? That's inbound marketing. They see you as the thought leader. They want to communicate. They read everything you send them, blogs and videos and how-tos, and they go to the trade shows where you do some trainings. They'll love you for that. And once in a while, somebody's going to have a need, and they're going to remind who? Those that taught them. The second one is the organic SEO. Hmm. That is when I'm going onto my anybody, almost everyone today knows what ChatGPT is, right? So you don't need to go to Google, skip that, or Bing or Safari or whatever you're using. You go straight to ChatGPT on your mobile device and you type, hey, who's the best top 10 companies in Foundry for aluminum 7075, right? Make sure your company's listed. If not, we can talk. Okay. Outbound marketing is the third leg of the stool. It's like catching a fish on the highway. I got two kids in the back of the car. I need to stop for lunch. I see an ad for McDonald's. I stop. That's exactly what it is. You sending ads on a trade magazine, you sending ads on Google, you sending ads on LinkedIn. This is purely outbound. You're trying to catch a fish. Okay. It's still one third out there. It's not bad. I threw into that category the trade shows and some of the webinars and seminars that we may be doing. So remember, you got three streams, and you need to fund that thing somewhat with an equilibrium. If you're too far into the top right and not enough in the bottom right, you might not work as efficiently as you think you could. So the next thing that's a layer down thing is it's easier to sell a pint of ice cream than it is to sell a casting. You guys agree with that, I hope, right? So it's challenging for us as a triangle of connections. And yes, I'm going to give you some numbers. You need to achieve 10 each before you can get sales. 10 impression to each and every one of them before you can get a sale. So I didn't make the numbers. I just find them out through my daily life. You got to talk to a manager or a C guy. That's at the client. You got to talk to what I call a specifier. I know this is not English. Don't try to find it. And there is a buyer out there. And we gave him names. Well, this is typically John. Hopefully, there's no John on the audience. This is typically, you know, we have Sam for the most part. And then we have, well, Rachel. So we give them names, personas, and things because depending on your industry, depending on your sub-markets you're trying to reach out, you should find your demographics. I'm gonna tell you one thing everybody should know. It's about 42% of the buyers currently are Gen millennials and younger. 42%. One on two. Doesn't know what you're doing. Have no idea. Somebody told them to buy something. Okay. That somebody might be one of the other two. But if you try to catch John, he's always so busy. Where is his watering hole? Where does he get his water at night? Right? How do I reach John? It might not be the way you think. Okay. And then the specifier in the middle, that's about 1/3 right now are millennials and younger. 1/3, growing fast. Again, they don't have the experience you may have had in the past. So be careful on that. This is really important when you do your marketing. You gotta have your personification and your messaging adapted. This is a complicated slide, but I'm gonna share it with you. Your website, you need to update it every 2 years minimum. If not, you're not going to be ranked. Okay. When is the last time I updated my website? I don't know. But if you do not update your website regularly, you don't change the content, you don't change the look and feel, the AI people for now are thinking you're not that responsive. If you don't post on social media, it's the same thing. You're not communicating. You're not going to get a lead from social media, don't get me wrong, but you got confirmation because the millennials and younger, they don't go to your website. They go to social first. Whoops. Are you part of the conversation? Then the CRM is the next thing. That's how you connect the outbound to the funnels. You serve them content. Marketing automation, if you had never heard of it, that would be my next AI prompt. What is marketing automation, please? Um, this has been done for decades in the B2C industry. It's coming up in B2B. Some of the biggest brand are using it pretty, um, with great success. And that drives inbound. Just simple as that, right? Just to me, this is multi-touch. But the thing is, you gotta have your list, and I'm coming to that slide, and it's the last one I promise in marketing, then we go on sales. Um, on marketing, the what I found when I bought, because I was the head of M&A for Kennametal, well, not the head, but I was responsible for M&A at Kennametal for many years, and I had the white space at Honeywell for the aftermarket. So I bought dozens of companies and I sold dozens of companies of my career. You know what the number one value is for a company transaction? Oh, yeah, it's machines and physical presence and shops and things like that. Yeah, at discounted value after depreciation, that is. I got a book of business. Yeah, okay, I get it. And you're selling to X and Y and Z, and you get good margins and good all that. What I found is really interesting. The most valuable asset is your segmented list, your contact list, your making sure that that thing is humming, that you have all the people you should be talking to. I once had a question, how many CNC machinists are in Buffalo area? Well, I don't know, but I found out. And the goal was to get every one of them. Okay. We reached about 80% in a year. Not bad. But define your market, define your contact, go get them, manage them, maintain them. That's your most valuable asset because that drives lead generation, which in turn drives sales, which in turn drives EVA, right? That's it. It's just simple as that. So for the future leaders here, that's kind of where I was imparting this because this is what I found is one of the most valuable things on the market today. And keep it very tight. That's a close secret for most corporations, who you're talking to and how you're talking to them. Then you can implement all the tools I talked about with smart reaching and smart messaging. With marketing automation today, that's a piece of cake. But that is not, I can tell you, I spent hours and hours and hours with my clients on this particular topic because it's worth it. Now let's go to sales for a minute. No questions still. So if you need to get questions, just let me know. Sales, I found numbers in my career about 4 to 8% direct cost of sales. So if you look at your SG&A, yeah, I'm talking like a financial guy, but that's what it is, right? If you go to your sales and general administration's percentage of sales, and most of you are pretty tight on because the cost of goods sold is pretty high. So your SG&A should be kind of as low as you can, right? That's what we're all trying. That's the game in town. Unfortunately, sales is not cheap. Okay. If you want good salespeople, you need to pay them good money. They got cars, they got travel, they got all kinds of perks. Um, and I remember paying some of my guys in sales more than I was paying myself as a VP of corporate, right? That's because it's one of your most expensive, I get it, but it's also one of your, well, you can't function as a body if you don't have a heart. Sales is the heart of the organization, right? So invest in them, train them, motivate them, challenge them. That's the best way of getting. So 4 to 8% is what I found is the norm. Um, it's what it is. There's hundreds of methodologies, so I'm going to not hit on any one in particular except mine. Um, so when I built this back in the days of consulting, and I'm still using it today with some of my clients, I think about four very discrete tasks for sales, and I'm going to go into it in detail as I go forward in the next 4 slides. You got to plot. You got to know what your farmland is. All right. You're going to plant maize on this. You're going to plant corn on this, and you're going to plant seeds of whatever in that one. That's plotting. If you don't understand your market, territory map. Ugh. How do you value where to put your assets? Act is the art of accelerating engagement. Connect is the act of connecting. And earn is the most misunderstood part of it. So I'm gonna go straight on. Sales territory for me, um, I could tell you roughly where all the machinists are when I was at Kennametal, which from the Bureau of Labor Statistics just simply. And then I would assign a value to that, and I would put my territories in play, and I would have my channels, and I would have my salespeople all oriented toward one simple thing, grabbing the most sales per square mile or the most sales per MSA. Start somewhere. Defining the opportunity, I'm going to use terms that might not be current to everybody, but I'm going to define them. Buying cycle, there's usually four of them. Your buying cycle is one, you explain to customers what they need to do and you drive the show. That's step one, part one, very rare and extremely expensive. Step two, you help them going through once they discover they need something and they don't know where and how to get it. You help them write the scope of work. Less expensive, but still a little far away from the cash. Three, you're kind of participating in writing the request for quote with them. They're aware they need the stuff and they found you and they like you, but they need to have three different bidders. Help them write that. That's actually the best place to be if you can. And the fourth one is they're in a bid, you're in a bid, and there's going to be price, baby. That's all. No good. Stay away from that if you can. Okay. You're going to lose as many percentage time as there are competitors in your market. So try and be two or three in that buying cycle and try to avoid 1 and 4 if you can. Tips is trend implication, possibilities, and solutions. So when I was traveling to the big guys, at my capacity of GM for aerospace and defense, I will not go into an account, visit with my sales unless I had the tips. Yeah, that's work. Well, it's good work. What are the trends on the markets of your customer? Are they bidding more? Are they losing stuff? Are they going to close shops? Are they being acquired by somebody? Those are the trends in your market. What are the implications to them? Well, they're looking for saving costs. They're looking to increase capacity significantly. They just got this order to make the landing gear for the 777 double triple X, whatever the new one's going to be. And you gotta have your possibilities. What does that mean? So I'm going to give you an example. When I started my journey on the 787, way before it was an airplane, it was called a Dreamliner. We knew kind of it would be plastic airplane, no pun intended, but it will be carbon fiber on a structure of titanium. How do I participate in that? I don't cast carbon fiber, but I do think I can do something on titanium. So how do we take advantage of those trends in the market, of those implications? What are the possibilities and what are the solutions that I can bring forward? If you don't have a process like this on the big accounts, you're missing out. Trust me. Then the profiling tools, that's everybody knows what that is. He has blue eyes and size 43 shoes. That's European for 10 and a half. And um, what's your relationship development? How are you gonna make sure you're talking to the right people at the right time? This is work, guys. This is why you pay sales for the big dollars. By the way, I had at one point 200 and change salespeople on my team. That was kind of cool to be able to do all that together. Position to win. All right. Everybody's different. You have four type of characters in the world. You have the commanders that want money and money only now, and what's your point, blah, blah, blah. You have the relators. You can get to a conversation until you talk about the weather for the past 3 weeks and the cost of the cherries. That's the relators. And then you got entertainers, and then you got, you know, organizers. How would you please describe your elevator speech today to any one of those four categories without blinking an eye? That's what position to win is about. Is the second step is to build client intimacy. So if you don't have a structure of account managers, I want to think about that. So that one is in charge. Clients don't like to have multi-touch points. So I talked to Jane for this, and I talked to John for that, and I talked to Alfred for this. Not good. So building relationship presupposes that you have a single easy point of contact, that you know your customers, and that you care for them very deeply. The last one, I call it the quarterback. Earn. You got to do everything you got to do. Bus boy, cleaning the shoes, cleaning the carpet. More seriously, we're about to be the quarterback, directing the play, reading the competition, reading the field, playing the number, playing the greed. So that's what sales are. They're the ambassadors of their clients inside, and they're the ambassador of the inside to their clients. Sometimes it's not fun to be the quarterback. Some of us know, right? So that's about sales. This is actually, and Bill kind of smiled about that when we talk about it, but this is actually my office. I wrote that 10 years ago, and somebody grafted it and put it into a frame for me. Don't settle for the status quo. Innovate a bit disrupted, think strategically, act quickly, adjust as required. To bring down silos between all those three components I'm going to talk about in a second, there is no magic rule. I've never found one. I've seen it anywhere from business destruction, meaning it could be very dangerous if you don't put the right people in place. I've seen that, to hundreds of percent overachievement. And I've seen that too, and I'll describe one of them later on. It all depends how committed we are. It, it also you have a bit of luck, maybe a bit of foresight. It happens. You're at the right time in the right place. Everybody heard that. So that happened to me once. I just wanted to go to the Paris Air Show when I joined Kinnamel, and I thought I was going to eat hot dogs on a strip out there. That's not that. Paris Air Show is the biggest place in the world with 300,000 visitors, and I had to explain that to my people, and they say, "Hey, this is where I need to be." And there's a guy from a Belgian large, maker of parts for a European aircraft maker that passes by and says, "Oh, we have one part just like that." And I had one very long, it was like side of body structure that I had. I think it was for the Gulf Stream. Doesn't matter what it was. I had that part out there, and the guy said, "I got a part just like that." Soon enough, talking about what do you do, where you from, He is from this company in Belgium and he's looking for this and that. And I said, all right, well, let's meet next week. And I became $1 million account. Sometime you're lucky. Sometime you have to work harder. Okay. So, but you got to be very quick in your agility to shift once you discover things, because as you go in your plan, it's not going to happen. So, this is the reality I'm faced with from my experience. I got a bunch of people up there. The CX is usually the engineers, the product dev, if you have the luxury of those. They have brilliant ideas. They have a strategy. They have a plan. They have a vision, whatever you call that, right? And they pass it down somewhat when they can at the coffee shop or during, down meetings. And they say, hey, marketing, talk more about this. Hey, sales, go sell this. And this is what happens. You got blah, blah, and you got, now what? Let me do what I'm used to do, right? And that thing goes down the tube. So, what I found out is I had the luxury of being able to have all three of them into my department when I was running the aerospace and defense at Canada, just for fun. We grew the business from 50 million to over 200 million in less than 4 years. Okay. Just for fun. So when you have sales, marketing, and operations working independently, well, yeah, you got the brilliant music instrument players, but you don't have an orchestra yet. Silos, they slow down decision making. I know it. Here, even in my own shop here, 10 people. I can have emails I go with like 20 chain long. And Bill would remember that. And I said, can you pick up a thing called a phone? That still exists. Misaligned goals, reduce efficiency. And worse, it can impact customer sat. I have several of those I can share with you, but we don't have a lot of time today. So call me if you would like more. So the opportunity for me, and I want to describe when you have this instrument players, you want to be the symphony orchestra. And you can't have all three people to be the same. That would be rare. But you can have them collaborate enough or drive enough to create that. So when I was aerospace, I say at Kenamo, that's what we had. We had a super gel team. I had support from my sponsors up in the top. I had engineering working with me. I had marketing supporting me, and I had sales delivering, executing, closing leads like there was no other. And I was on the floor. I was like, on that, I was on the thing. So I'm going to close on this slide, I believe, right, Bill? What are the my recommendations for you guys to achieve success is synchronize, um, establish shared goals, create regular check-ins. So my team, we met by region once a week minimum, and we call it the SNOP meeting, sales and operations. Why didn't we call it marketing? I don't know, because sales and marketing was so symbiotic. In my views, that sales and ops, we had a weekly meeting. Boeing is going to do this and Airbus is going to do that. We're expecting orders from A and B and C and D and E. And we have a probability of win of X. We have a time of win of Y. We knew all that was from the CRM anyway. Doesn't even, once you use it correctly, you have all that stuff spit out. And operations would say, nah, you know what? In Cleveland right now, we have a bit of a capacity. Our XYZ machine is down. We can shift some to Essen in Germany, but we're going to have to pay shipping. Okay. So now we make decisions of what we can do together, right? Use technology to enable that visibility. If you're using email, no good. I can tell you that. Somebody breaks a leg or is not available tomorrow, then what happens? Nobody can access his or her thing. So use technology. I've used things like obviously Teams, but we have Asana, plenty of other tools out there, Slack, but more the techie ones. Use technology to enhance your visibility, create teams, to create groups, and work with them to have a culture of collaboration. That's it. If you don't make mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. All right. But you don't want to make too many mistakes either because, well, you don't make money. So benefits, I mean, you can read all that. I'm going to finish on sustainable growth. When we put this thing in place, in the places I've been, I know one company I'm working with in New Hampshire. Um, hopefully they're listening in. We started many years ago by reducing our forecast by $1 million because we wanted to get rid of one customer that was costing us more money than we were selling. And then we've doubled the size of the company in the next 3 years because we released capacity. So by working together, knowing where you want to go, how you're going to get there, and sharing the bearings and the load within the team equally between sales, marketing, operations, or management, depending on how you guys structured, that's sustainable business growth. That's the only way I know. So open questions. Thank you very much, everybody. And Bill, your turn.
Yeah. Does anyone have, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to unmute you. Um, or you can put it into the box. Um, and I think maybe I'll start things off, Francois, and I know I've done this exercise with you, but can you talk a little bit more about where to play? Because I think a lot of foundries have multiple different sectors that they work
Some
with,
reason I have
but how
lost
do you figure
sound.
out where to play?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me or no?
Okay, try again.
Let's try again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I know we've had this conversation. I know I've been with you on this exercise, but you mentioned a little bit about where to play.
Yeah.
And how does sales, marketing, operations work together to determine where they should play in the market? What industries they should be working for? What capabilities they do have?
Okay. Yeah, I can get you started on this.
Yeah.
I call it sweet spot. Okay. Knowing your sweet spot. I don't even know if it's trademarked by somebody out there on a software or on a company or marketing guru. Years and years ago, I developed this simple exercise. You interview your 10 top 10 leaders, your sales guys, some of them, and some of your operations manager. And I'm going to give you 3 red chips and 3 green chips. Like you go to the casino, right? My play table has columns such as aerospace landing gear, aerospace engine intakes, aerospace casings. I don't know what you guys foundries is for. I'm using aerospace because the one I know, right? So you start putting your markets and your capabilities in the columns on a big paper, right? All the segments that you serve. On the y-axis, the lines, the swim lanes, you put your product groups or services. So we machine parts, we make part, we have services, we have this, we have casting for small parts and sand casters, lost casting, blah, 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 blah. All these different services you have. And every one of them needs to place their chips as such. Green is we love it. It's easy to sell if I'm in sales. The product works. I don't have a lot of RMAs, returns. I don't have a lot of scrap. That's usually for the operations people. And then in the middle, you got all the others who are going to say, hey, I don't know, the customer service high. I mean, I'm dealing with I want to see more all the time, and lots of quotes, not a lot of play. So if everybody does his job, and I got somewhere in my database, I got all the rules of the game, but that's what it is. Everybody's going to come back with his grid, his or her grid. Sorry, I should speak that way. And as a leader here of the pack of wolves, you take that and you superimpose all those 10 dozens, 20 grids that you collected. You're going to find something magical happening. You already know the answer to these questions. Your team knows where to go, where to hunt, and where to focus, and who are the bad things to not get your feet in. Going to give you an example. I've got a call when I started my journey as an independent entrepreneur from a PE firm in Connecticut that just bought three assets, Kansas and Texas, and manufacturing plants, and one was in composite, the other one was in bending metals, and the third one was in machining. And they magically thought 1 + 1 + 1 equals 7. Right. And I did that sweet spot with them. And management wanted to go after, let's say, segment A, customer B. And people said, hell no. That's the last thing we want to do. We're losing our shirt, sending bills to parts, and they're difficult to work like hell. So I'm not going to be more specific than that at this moment, but sweet spot, if you can remember that. This is a fun game to play. And it puts everyone in the game because, well, they have to think about it, right?
Thank you. I'm looking, we don't have additional any questions. I know people are listening and people are going to see this because we're going to have the recording out there for the entire membership, and we will also have the slides from Francois. So again, thank you so much for this presentation. Really do appreciate it. More than you know, I've always enjoyed being able to, you know, as I said before, attend a session by Francois. So I really, truly on behalf of the association, thank you very much. And on behalf of the Next Gen Committee, want to let everyone know that our next webinar is going to be on November 13th. It's going to be on something actually Francois even talked about failing forward, about how to learn from your mistakes and how you can move forward. And the speaker is actually someone, Paul Glover, who is someone
Mm.
that was a renowned attorney that found himself in jail and has come out and talking about he definitely did fail. And he's talking about how he's been able to take what has been the problems in his life and turns them into a positive, which is what we're, always helping for people, that you can make mistakes, but you can always improve and learn from them. So Francois, again, thank you very much for your presentation. Anyone has any other questions, I'll be happy to provide them, but we will have these slides over to you as well. So thank you very much. Really do appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. And if you have any questions, you can reach Bill. He'll know how to get a hold of me. Okay.
Yes.
Ciao. See you out there on the foundry floor.